new Estonian friends? Is it your party? Or is it just me? I love your theme about even innovation. And for me, creativity is like the corn that pops. But innovation is when you bring that into something you can sell. Would you agree? Can you see the difference? Cool. I'm going to talk about popcorn a little bit later, and if you're really hungry, you can get some as well. He's not a friend. Let me say it like this. I go out with my dog every morning when I'm home. I have a small little dog, a miniature schnauzer, a black one with beard. Have you seen it? 8 kilos. And we go out, and then we meet this man. And the first time I met him, he said, "Hi, I am a creator. I am an inventor. I am an innovateur," he said. And I said, "Fine, cool. Can I join you?" And I said, "Yes." Oh my God, I should never have done that. The man walks next to me and tells me about his inventions. And then he says, "I don't get it. I believe that everyone I meet are idiots." And I say, "I don't get it either, because everyone I meet are very friendly and nice. And we go the same way. We meet the same people. What's wrong with you?" And he didn't realize what was wrong with him, because he always assumed that people are idiots. How can he collaborate with anyone if he had this attitude? For me, his communication determines everyone else's disengagement. Can you see the difference? And for me, since I believe that most people are good, I am treated with friendly people. Like, for instance, you guys, you are now strangers to me. But for me, strangers are just people I don't know yet. That's why I say my Estonian friends, even though we haven't met before. I will talk about 3 things. Actually, 4 things. I need to bring up the popcorn as well, because otherwise that would be strange. Why people are like popcorn. We're going to talk about that. But also what I call the house of engagement. Why are we sometimes stuck on the wrong level of engagement? And what does it mean for us when we are, if we want to collaborate and cooperate? We will talk about the brain's inner traffic light and why we need that to be green instead of red. And then I will also talk about the 3 communicative superpowers that will make you awesome when it comes to collaborating, innovating, and having fun. That's my plan. And then I think it's time for a Q&A at the end, so you can ask whatever question you want if I didn't respond to it well enough. Okay, so let's go on. I believe that this is what most people want. We want to grow. We want to grow mentally, spiritually. We want to grow in our competence. We don't want to grow this part, perhaps, but otherwise we want to grow. We want to influence our daily life, our decisions, people, and we want to have fun. Does it make sense? This is exactly what the self-determination theory talks about when it talks about competence, autonomy, and belonging, being part of something. And when we are, that's where we can innovate and collaborate. And I guess all of you have felt that at one point or another. But when I'm out in the world, and I left the corporate world, the corporate career 16 years ago, and I've been coaching leaders and teams all over the world since then. And I've noticed that most people actually feel this. They are stressed. They are stressed from all sides. It's so much work to do, slimmer organizations, and then you have the whole kind of insecurity of new things happening. I only actually understood 2 words that you talked about before, because I don't speak Estonian. Corona and pandemic, that was it, And when that happens, of course, we get stressed. We get frustrated. Why are not people as passionate as I am about things? Why don't we have the same level of engagement that I have? And then some people are actually anxious. We have anxiety going on, that I'm not good enough or that I don't belong. All of that matters, and it hinders us from being the best self when we want to collaborate with our friends and peers. But my promise to you then is that if we master our communication, then we will have a much higher engagement and motivation. And we will enjoy life more, which will lead to creativity, performance, and results. This is kind of the basis of what I talked about. If you don't remember anything else, this is it. The link between communication, engagement, and performance. Communication in itself is not important. I spend my whole life on that. I've spent like 25 years deciphering the tactics and the insights of communication. It actually started when I was 24 years old. I remember it so well. I was interested already then. I was studying marketing and leadership and all that. But I was walking home in the middle of a summer night, warm summer night, 2 o'clock in the morning. I've been out with my friends. I was not sober. I might have had some Estonian vodka, I don't know. You know. And then I met 2 guys of about 19 that stopped me. The only person that was not asleep, otherwise I was alone. So they would come there, "Hey you," they said. "Huh? You got a cigarette?" And I said, "No." And then they said, "Papa, hand me a wallet." And I said, "No." And then the first guy brings out the gun and go gangster style on me. "Are you sure about that?" And of course I said, "No," and I gave them the wallet. And then, like 15, 20 seconds later, I got the wallet back. "I get the wallet back?" "Yeah, you had such good answers to our questions." And I was thinking, "Oh my God, you're so stupid." And of course I didn't say that. I said, "Okay, cool, thank you." And I pretended to be their friends. "What is the thing with the gun?" "Yeah, my girlfriend broke up with me. I'm a bit upset." And I was thinking, that is an overreaction, my friend. We talked a little bit more. I gave them 2 tickets, VIP tickets to a nightclub. I said, "These are valid from tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Go and have some fun." "Oh, sweet," they said. "That's so nice." And I'm thinking, I'm not nice. I'm going to go to the police and say that there are 2 punks with a gun at that nightclub at 8 o'clock. Take them. Didn't say that either. But after a while, we just parted ways. They went their way. What a nice person. I went my way. 2 complete idiots. Went up to my apartment. Sat on the bed. But I couldn't lie down. This is when I realized, this is when I sobered up and realized, you know what? I'm 24 years old. I could have been dead at this point. I could have been dead. But I don't have a black eye. I have my wallet and I don't have a bullet in my body. What was it that made me come out of that situation unharmed, apart from the shaky hands? And I went from being interested in communication at that point to being almost obsessed by it. And ever since then, I've been searching for those communication keys and insights and lessons that help us get along, because that's my mission in life. I just want people to get along, because if we do, we will create better things in a better world. Hopefully our kids will kind of benefit from it as well. So today, what I do, and I love the fact that I'm a cartoon. It's the first time I've seen that, So I decided to put that on. So this is what I do: leadership, communication, employee engagement, customer focus. I love my job. I have the best job in the world, for me. I hope that you have the best job as well, for you. But not everybody does. When we are to collaborate with, for instance, different companies or different organizations, also within different departments, we should know that many people are not that engaged. Many people are not. If you look at Gallup, who is a big company studying employee engagement, this is what they say. 10 to 35% in the world of employees are actively engaged. Actively engaged means that you do more than what you're told to do. You are highly motivated. In Sweden, that number is 14%. In Finland, it's 10%. I don't know how it is in Estonia, but probably somewhere around those numbers. Can you imagine how few people that are really engaged? And now you're supposed to collaborate with everyone else. Because look at this, 10% are actively disengaged. Actively disengaged. This means that they are saboteurs. They are the one that trash talk people behind their back. They are the one that steals toilet paper. they are the ones that go up to a whiteboard, take a pen, and it doesn't work, and then they say, "I'm going to place it back here so that someone else can suffer as well." We have to live with them as well. And then Gallup says that the rest of the people are disengaged. I disagree on that point because some of them are actually pretty happy, satisfied. Things are pretty good. It's a job. It's not like my favorite job, or I have other things to do in my life. I like what I do in my free time, but it's a job. It's okay. I enjoy it. And then you have some people who are dissatisfied, thinking, yeah, I could do better. This is not good enough. You have the whole scale. And this is where the popcorn comes into play. So let's bring out the popcorn again. First, this is a bag of microwave popcorn. And it says here, from the finest corns. And just imagine that we are those popcorn. So when we hire people in our companies, we don't hire assholes. We hire the finest corns, don't we? What do you need to make these corns pop? Basically, you need two things. You need heat, energy, and then you need time. So in my microwave oven, I need 2 minutes on 800 watts to get a nice bag of popcorn, like this one. But every corn doesn't pop at the same time, do they? The first corn, they start to pop after like 20, 30 seconds, right? Have you tried it? Do you eat popcorn? Or is it only me? Then this would be a very strange analogy. 20, 30 seconds, then the first starts to pop. Poof, poof, poof. And they are the actively engaged people. And then, more and more, and then you have the whole bag in the middle, boom, 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 and then you have some at the very end, poof, 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 poof. And then you bring out the bag, tear it up, put it in this one. And you look at them and, oh, it's going to be good. Just the smell of it. But if you look at the bottom here, you will see some bloody corn that refuses to pop, don't you? And they will say, I don't want to pop. It's not in my job description to pop. I'm not going to pop. Why should I pop? Someone else could pop instead. Have you met those people? Do you like to work with them? Unpopped corn. It's really hard, isn't it? I remember one time I was talking to a municipality in Sweden, and afterwards one of the persons came up to the organizer and said, "We need to talk. I don't pop here." And it was actually pretty good because she could do something else in that case. Why should she spend her life being unpopped? I don't get it. Anyone who likes popcorn? Give me a hand if you like popcorn. You're the first one out. This is for you. The next time you eat, when you put them in the microwave, you would say, "Do I pop or not?" So bring that with you. But Gallup doesn't say why people pop or not. They just say that some people are engaged, some people are not engaged. That's all they say. So I've spent the last years kind of figuring out what the reasons are for people to pop or not, why people are engaged or not. And I finally cracked the code. You can look at the leadership culture, you can look at the communication culture, you can look at the meeting culture, you can look at the way you set goals, how you work with motivation, you can look at how you treat your customers. All of those things are symptom of something much deeper. And once you figure that out, this is when you can start to really cure a possible disease. Otherwise, you're just scratching on the surface. It's not enough to say, Peter is always complaining, and then you say to Peter, stop complaining. Yeah, Peter can stop complaining, but the reason for complaining is still there. So we need to kind of address it deeper. So I'm going to give you something that I call the house of engagement, which shows you 4 different floors and why people act, behave, and communicate the way they do. Because then we can possibly solve it. And if you are in an organization that has problems, perhaps you find that people are turning in sick, more or less, more absence. You struggle with your sales. Your partners that you try to work with, they have a kind of a toxic environment and all that. Then you can start figuring out why. So let's go through them one by one. The house of engagement. On the very bottom, you have 2 basement floors, you can see there. And at the very bottom, you have the worst. This is the worst scenario, where the only thing you want to do is go from that. You want to run away from. This is a toxic environment. This is management by terror, the worst kind. Actually, let me show you a picture of one of those people. This is a bad guy. This is a bad guy. This was the former CEO of France Telecom. Back in 2008, he was responsible for 150,000 people, and then they were privatized into Orange, and he said, I'm going to get rid of 22,000 employees. But this was in France, and in France, you can't fire people. So he decided that, I need to find another strategy, and he did. I got it, he said. I'm going to bully them. I'm going to be mean to them. I'm going to, make them feel invisible. Or I'm going to move them to other parts of the country. Or I'm going to give them useless tasks so that they quit voluntarily. Wasn't that a genius plan? He told all his sub-managers, these people they must leave. They must either go through the door or out the window. This was 2008. And in 2019, he was sentenced to prison for 4 months because 35 of those employees chose the window. That's the worst level you can be at. Management by terror. This is about power moves, trash talking, always trying to figure out how you can survive. What's happening is that the threat systems in our brain is completely active. Everything is about survival, attack and escape, and that's it. And if you're on that environment, if you recognize that, then what you really need to pump in the organization is empathy and compassion and trust and patience. People crave empathy and compassion, but they don't get it. Talk about being in the dark. But there's another level as well. This one is still on the minus level, -1, but the motivational focus, I call it the team's motivational drive, motivational mindset, motivational focus, is much better because here people want to go to something. They know that there is another floor where they can see the sun. They just don't know how to get there. They can't find the stair. They can't find the elevator, but they're trying at least. But since they don't know how to get there, they're really frustrated. This is where you have management by reorganization sometimes. Yeah, let's do it this way instead. No, it doesn't work, so let's do it this way. Or ad hoc type of situations. Oh, I think the stair is over here. No, it isn't. It's dark. Okay, let's go over here. And they just fumble and stumble and walk around and try to figure out what to do. Frustration here is the name of the game. And really, what they crave, people, if you have an organization like that, or if you're collaborating with an organization like that, you will find it because they have tons of useless PowerPoint slides trying to explain what they do. But they don't really know. So what they really want is clarity. Clear goals and roles and mandate and job descriptions. They just want to be clear. What do we do? I talked to a head of another municipality in Sweden, and she said that now that they're going hybrid, everyone wants clarity. How many days should we be in the office? Which day should we be in the office? And she says, it's up to you. I trust you. But for them, it's not good enough. They want clarity. They want kind of rules almost. Help us, give us a box so we know where to go. They don't get it. The motivational focus is much better. Here at least they want to go to something. Then you have the next one where you figure that one out. This is the level, the entrance floor. You're up above ground and everything is figured out. You know the roles and goals and responsibilities. The meetings are pretty good. Everything is pretty good. It's a satisfactory environment. And they all sing, Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya. On the surface, it looks so nice. This is a place you want to work at. This is an organization you can collaborate with. There's only one problem. And the problem is that all they want to do is to defend their position, keep the status quo. They are risk minimalistic. They don't want to take any risks at all. They say, nah, we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't do that because, it might go wrong. We are good where we are. Let's do the same thing next year as we did this year, plus 0.2%. That's it. So if you have that situation, the key word here is stagnation. And stagnation means actually that you're going backwards compared to everyone else. Or in this case, you go down to the basement. The one place you don't want to be at is where you go if you stay there too long. It's a nice place to be. If you look at the systems in the brain, the first one, the lowest one, was the threat system. The second one is what we call the exploration system, which is a good one. You try to explore, find a way around. It's just that you don't know how. And this is the safety system that has kicked in. And the safety system is pretty good because now you can feel comfortable, you can feel secure, you're not afraid anymore. It's a really good place to be for a while. But if you stay there too long, the risk is that you actually will go down to the basement sooner or later. Otherwise, it's a nice place. But there is one more. The highest level, where I believe that only 5 to 10% of the teams that I've met are at. And this is where you have the motivational focus of continuous growth and continuous development. This is where you understand that we need to start trusting each other. We need to share information with each other. We need to collaborate. If we do that, we will create amazing things together. And we need to be better step by step by step. So this is management by vision, values, and trust. Trust is the key word. I have a friend who speaks on the topic of young people's web habits, how they kind of go online and all that. And he says that a lot of parents ask them, how should I do with the password? With the password, I need to find out the password for my kids. And he says, the password to your kids is trust. Involve yourself with them and trust them, but help them and guide them. On this level, you have something called psychological safety, which means that you are not afraid to speak out. You will not be punished. This is the level where you don't have conflicts, but you can have healthy disagreements. How many of you believe that conflicts are good? It's good for development. I believe that you raise your hand because you define conflicts as a disagreement. Because if it's a real conflict, then it's Mariupol. A real conflict is a battle where someone wins and someone loses. And that's not what we want. So I tell people, you should probably be afraid of conflicts, because if you're in a conflict, it has gone too far. You don't have trust anymore. You just hate each other. But you could disagree and still respect each other. That's a much better place. And that's what you do on this level. And of course, if I had a villain on the first one, I need a hero on this one. This is my hero on that level. This is Martina Breitenstein, who lives outside Helsinki in Espoo. She was my manager for a while, and she was just awesome. She was the best manager I've ever had. We were working in Stockholm at the time, in one of those boring houses from the 70s, brick houses, like 6 floors up. We were in the corner of the 3rd floor, and there were coffee machines all over the place. And we were a team of about 10 people. She was the head of us. I was part of that team. Market launch something. We worked with telecom at that point. And for some reason, that particular coffee machine was the place where everybody went. So it was always a lot of noise and fun and laughter and things in that corner. And that's because Martina knew how to build a team. With trust, with curiosity, with energy, we helped each other out. She had all of those good things when it comes to the systems. I mean, you should have like 10% of the threat system in your body, because then you know that you're not satisfied. So you want to move away from something it is. It could be better. And then you should have 50% exploration. So just use that like a vaccine. You take away the dangerous part, but you keep the good one. So it's 50% exploration, just figuring out how to do it. And then 40% safety. That's what she instilled in us. It was awesome. She was great. But, has anyone worked in a big organization, like a large organization? Have you? Have you had reorganizations at any time? Yeah, okay. That's what they do. I worked in the telecom industry for 8 years. I had 16 large organizational, reorgs. So after 6 months or so, we went out separate ways. I moved up 3 floors, somebody moved to Brazil, somebody moved somewhere else. It was just like, common. This is how it was in the business. After 2 months, I went down to that corner of the 3rd floor just to figure out, if the ambiance is there, if it's a good place to be. And it was completely dead. I mean, it wasn't dead. People were probably in their offices, but it was so boring. And that's when I figured out, you know what? It's not the place, it's the people. It's always the people first. And then if you have a nice environment like this one, it's just beautiful. That helps. But without people, it doesn't matter. So Martina, for me, is my hero, my long-term hero. And she made us, treat each other good. We meet, treat, and greet each other very good. It actually requires 3 to 11 positive interactions for each negative to get the high-performing teams. To get high-performing teams. 3 to 11. 2 is not enough. 1 is definitely not enough. And 11 is probably because there must be some sort of cap, because then afterwards you become a cult where you don't think anymore. You just do what everyone else does. Always, what do we think about this? Like I ask my wife sometimes, what do we think we should buy? I say, and then she says, you should buy this. Yes, that's what we should buy. And of course, people in my industry, we are normally pretty positive. So I found this obituary, like a graveyard for people like me, because we're so positive all the time. 3 to 11. Can you see that one? Some see death as an obstacle. I see it as an opportunity. Stupid things. Or there are none so dead as those who will not live. Very strange. If you look at all of them one more time and look at the consequences of why we should focus on the highest level. Well, the reason is that if you're on the lowest level, and if you try to collaborate with teams on the lowest level, this is what you get. People will not even show up. You will have more accidents. You will have more errors. You will have less engagement, less creativity. Actually, 25% of the staff will take out their frustrations on their customers if you're on that level. And I'm super sensitive. When I come to a new place, like a hotel or something, I always check out their customer service just to figure out, what is the culture behind that person's behavior. And very often it's true. If they're nice, probably they have a good leader, they have a good environment, good colleagues, and they just enjoy work. If they're not, the opposite stands. But if you're on the highest level, not only will you erase all those problems, you will also get more productivity, more customer satisfaction. If you have a big company like on the stock exchange market, you will increase the price as well. So there are no benefits of staying on the lower levels at all. Now, if you're a solo entrepreneur, this is mostly nice to know, or it's a need to know from your customer base perspective, because they are in these environments. If you are in a company with more than one employee, then this might make sense to you as well. And if you want to, you can always do this test. I've done a self-assessment for you guys. If you want to, you just scan it now with your phone, and you will have 15 questions that you just answer, like multiple choice. You just choose one, A, B, C, D. Not multiple choice, but one at a time. And then after that, you will get an indication, at least an indication of where you are in your team right now. And I would so like to help all of you. You will get a text afterwards of what to do, but if you're fast, I will actually let 5 of you, if you email me afterwards, 5 of you, I will give you a full hour free of a strategic talk with you about what you can do. That's it. No strings attached. You just get it. Now, what do you need to do? What do you need to do to climb that stair up to the top level? I figured out that there are 3 things you need to do, and I call them communication insights. The first thing you need to do is to constantly evolve your communication expertise and excellence when you present and when you converse. So presentations and conversations. And we're talking about analog, digital, and hybrid, those 3 environments. And you also need to excel when it comes to meetings. We spend a lot of time in meetings. How many of you go to meetings like daily? Many of you. So how can we ramp up our competence? Analog, digital, hybrid. And finally, when it comes to performance, how can we maximize our performance? With meaningful goals that we can set together, with self-leadership, with motivational boosters, things that will help us. Now, when I work with my clients, some of them only want me to do presentation skills training. We have a team from around the world. Let's make sure that they are really good evangelists when they go out. Other ones say, we need to work on our motivational skills here. We need to boost it. We need to find ways to work with that. And some other people say, you know what, our meeting sucks. They are so boring. We need to do something about them. What can we do? And it's so rewarding when they actually increase their competence and know-how and skills, and it kind of pours out to the whole organization, and the customers can feel it as well. It's just rewarding when that happens in different cases. So let me go through one thing that you can do on the maximize performance things, and then we go into the communication excellence as well. The first thing we can do if we want to collaborate and communicate in a good way is to hack our brains. And it's really, really simple. Talk to your neighbor for 1 minute and tell them to name a person that made them feel good the last week. Who made you feel good the last week? Just warm or smile or something. Do it now. Take 1 minute. Go ahead. Talk to your neighbors, your friends. You can turn around. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And welcome back. It seems that you all have somebody that made you feel good. Excellent. This is what happens in your brain when you talk about this. First of all, you have a traffic light in the brain, and the brain has a bodyguard, the threat system. So it always checks if everything is okay, or if you will survive or not. And if that part of the brain has a red traffic light, you will not get access to your higher functions in the brain. You cannot be constructive or creative or productive or anything like that. But if it's green, it goes all the way up to the brain's CEO, the limbic system, the emotional side of the brain. And if that person is disappointed or angry or whatever, bitter, then you still have a red light. But if that person is in a good mood, like you are right now, because you just talked about somebody who made you feel good, then you have a green light as well. Now you can go up to the analyst or the project manager, and you can be creative, constructive, and productive. This is what you can do. So basically, when I talked about my mission is that everyone should get along, my mission is that every brain should be green, because then we can be collaborating in a good way. That was the short one for that one. Now, let's go to the next one and talk about the 3 communicative superpowers. 3 communicative superpowers. You just see the first one here out of the 3, and that is energy. Energy so that your customers or colleagues or partners believe that you believe. Why should they if you don't? And energy is like a magnet. You know, do you remember before Corona, when you went on vacations? Anyone? You remember? No, I don't remember. No, it has been like this forever. Someone say. You know, when you went to Restaurant Street, and some of the restaurants were noisy and fun, and it was music and laughter, and then you had some completely empty. Which one would you like to go to if you have a chance to? I'd say most people answer the one where the people are, where the action is. I want to be, in a good environment where the energy is good. And then there's always somebody, an engineer, who says, I have calculated the time it takes to get the food, and it's quicker to get food in that empty restaurant. Yes, it is, but it's also quicker to get food poison in that one. I remember my parents went to Crete, and my mother wanted to go to where the action was, and my dad said, no, let's go to the empty place. And then they were at the fountain for 3 hours just vomiting, It was terrible. Energy is mostly visible through your body language and your voice. Non-verbal communication. And let's just do one very short exercise together to show that. The difference between looking arrogant and normal is only 1 inch, 2.54 centimeters. Now try this with your neighbor. You turn to your neighbor and you say, hi, nice to meet you. And then you do it one more time, but you lift your nose 1 inch. Do it now and feel the difference. Go ahead. All right. You see how quickly small things make huge differences when it comes to communication. That was one example. There are tons of other examples when it comes to verbal and nonverbal. It's like if you have a monotonous voice. Yada, 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 55 PowerPoint slides, yada, yada, yada. You get tired so quickly. The second one is empathy. In no particular order. The second superpower is empathy. Empathy so that people feel that you try to understand them, that you are there for them, present, interested, asking questions, listening to answers. This is what you want in that case. Empathy is a superpower, definitely. But empathy is also the one that is the most fragile, because as soon as you believe that you're someone special, empathy goes down the drain. So after this, in the break, ask each other if you have a car, which one has the most expensive car? Because the one with the most expensive car is the least likely to stop for pedestrians. And if you have a BMW, that's part of the price of the car. You just go. So empathy is a superpower, but it's also very fragile. If you're not humble, then you lose empathy. If you lose empathy, you lose the good personality that you can be. And the innovateur that I meet on my walking around with the dog, he doesn't have any empathy at all. He doesn't understand the concept of empathy. The third one is clarity. Clarity so that other people can understand you. And this is just fun. It's just so much. It's kind of humor that people believe that they are understood. If I ask you, how many of you have misunderstood somebody the last week? Up with your hand. If you didn't raise your hand, you just misunderstood the question. We misunderstand each other all the time. It's just a matter of how much or how close we are to get what we're saying. That's it. We cannot do it well. And then we try to be clear with this. Have you seen those slides? 14 bullets, font size 12, text, yada, 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 and then a bloody flower in the corner to decorate the shit. Have you seen it? It just doesn't work. I compare PowerPoint slides with alcohol, narcotics, and tobacco. You might get high when you use it, but the rest of us will suffer. Please stop using PowerPoint. But because, actually, it's not the tool's fault. It's your fault. If you use PowerPoint like that, it's not full. I use PowerPoint saying this. These are my slides. So you can ask yourself: do you speak PowerPoint-ish or Excel-ish? If you do, stop it. I promise you, it's not going to be better. To summarize it, you can say that we make people feel the way we want them to feel. If you criticize me, I will be sad. If you threaten me, I will be scared. If you praise me, I will be happy. And I have read that 50% of all the praise you get in your lifetime, you get before you turn 3 years old. Can we agree that there is a potential for improvement here? We should stop praising those small bastards. No, we shouldn't, of course. We should keep praising all of us, make it into a happy place instead. So ask yourself, did you praise somebody the last time, and why? That would be good. Now, a question to you guys before I round this off. Which of the 3 superpowers do you think is most important? Empathy, clarity, energy? Let's have a raise of hands. Anyone who says empathy is the one that is probably the most important, raise your hand. Okay. How about clarity? Anyone for clarity? Energy. We have all 3, and that's good. In my world, there is one that is actually on top of the other ones, and that is this one. And the reason for that is if you don't understand people, how can you be clear in your message and deliver it with the right type of energy? So for me, I suggest you start with empathy. That's the first one and the best one. Now, if you do all this and this reduces misunderstandings, you will increase your creativity, would it be worth it? Would it be worthwhile to spend time on your communication and behavior? Would it? Because here's what the learning expert Robert Brinkerhoff says. He says that only 15% take what they have learned and do something sustainable with it. Positive change, positive lasting change. 70% will try and give up. And then 15%, they have just been forced here. They are on vacation right now. They're sleeping. They're waiting for something else more fun to happen. Of course, I don't talk to the 15% who doesn't care. I talk to the 70% in the middle and the 15% over there. So 85% in that case. To end this, when you go out to your next, meeting, or when you leave this room, when you leave this day, what would be your first step based on what I talked about now? Based on, analyzing the engagement level of your team or your customer's team or whatever, and then going into the 3 communicative superpowers. And by all means, whether or not you pop, to pop or not to pop. And I'd like to just end this with one memory that I have when it comes to the 3 superpowers, the one of empathy. I have 2 sons, Elliot and, Milton. They are both the same height, taller than me. When Milton was only 6 years old, he was already then a super communicator. He was the best. I talked to Milton and I said, Milton, tell me, what is the difference? This is about empathy. What is the difference between being able to hear and being able to listen? And Milton said, you're the consultant, you should know. But then I said, but I'm interested in what you think. And then he said, okay, pay attention. To be able to hear is simply to not be deaf. But to listen, Daddy, that is when you really try to understand what the other person is saying. And not only saying, but also what the other person means. Do you get it? And I looked at him for 3 long, silent seconds before I said, welcome to the company, my son. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day together.
Wow. Thank you so much, Antoni. We do have a few questions for you if you're here already. I mean, you promised this free consultation, so I'm going to use a bit of it.
Go ahead.
There's one question from the audience, comes from Erki, and Erki wants to know what are the most empathic countries or companies that you have met? So who does it best? Are there certain, is empathy a national skill in a way?
Empathy is not a national skill, it's an individual skill. I have yet to see one nation being better than someone else when it comes to empathy. Some of the countries that I've visited, like the country I live in, Sweden, we are very consensus-driven, so we try to figure out where we stand together before we make a decision. I guess that's part of empathy then. While you have other ones that are more authoritarian, where you say, do as I say, they have less empathy. But what we've seen is that if you have leaders with high empathy, the engagement level of the employees goes up from 15 to 30%, up to 70%. So empathy is a superpower, definitely. But I can't say that it's one country over another, but it's more like on an individual basis.
I guess, some people, there's a question over there, but I'm going to ask my first. So if you work in an organization where you, let's say, have a toxic leader, I mean, not as toxic perhaps as the French
Oh,
telco
that was the
guy.
worst example.
Yeah. But I mean, you don't really feel good. Can you change the culture of the organization from inside when you're not the boss, or should you just leave?
You go to a boss. No, sorry, yeah, you go to a boss.
And you hug him?
You go to a company, you leave a boss. What I would do if I have a toxic boss is that I would leave. I would change position. I would change to another boss. Find a boss that is good, because you can never change that person's attitude or skill when it comes to that. I would just move. Sorry to say it, but it's not actually only the boss's fault. It's also the boss's boss' fault for hiring that prick or asshole. They should be careful in doing that. So no, I would leave. I would try to figure out a way to work with a really good boss, because that's almost more important sometimes than the actual role I have when it comes to my well-being.
Dear bosses, please be show empathy.
You know,
otherwise, what might happen.
I talked about Gallup. Gallup shows that 2/3 of the reason for an employee to be engaged or not is based on the closest manager's behavior. 2/3. So if you're managers here, you have a huge responsibility.
Right, there was a question over there. Please raise your hand. Okay, then the microphone will soon follow. Magic microphone.
I will also stay in the break if you want to talk to me more. So I will be outside in the break.
So go ahead.
Sure. So I am Erki.
Hi, Erki.
Hey, Antoni. So loved some of the stories you were sharing. My question was actually not about the empathy, but about the meeting competence. So what are these kind of best examples that you've seen about meeting competence? Is it either a culture company, etc.? And what and how do they do? What is a good meeting?
All right, I've written 3 books about meetings, so I'm pretty well established when it comes to meetings. Let me give just a couple of quick tips, because we have 100 at least. The first one is to involve much more than you inform. Information meetings are in general boring. What I can say in 1 hour, you can read in 10 minutes. So why not make sure that people read up before, and then you talk to each other in the meetings and discuss and reflect. So information meeting is really good. And the other one is stop having those 1 hour meetings that start 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11. You cannot move from one place to another if you do that. So go for 45 minutes meetings instead, so you have a 15-minute free. So why not start every meeting from now on for full hour and end it 1:45, and then you have time to go to the bathroom, you have time to do a task, and then you can move to the next one. 2 quick ones, but they are at least 100 more I can give you. Actually, or you can buy the book, and I can give all the tips there as well. Yes?
One last question. There are quite a few from the audience, but because we're running out of time, I'm going to take one last. If people love empathy and it's so important, then why are there psychopaths on top of the world?
What an interesting question. Now, I wish I was a psychologist. I studied psychology, but I'm not a psychologist. One reason that I can think of is that psychopaths could be very good at one particular part of empathy, and that is to detect and also foresee another person's reaction. They have zero compassion, but they know how to kind of play the game, to manipulate. So it seems that they have empathy sometimes, but they have no compassion, and compassion is perhaps even more important than empathy.
Ladies and gentlemen, Antoni, give a big applause.
Thank you. Thank you.